Hey everyone, Fredgo here, welcome to another video, and today we're taking a closer look and review of an old school sort of 90s fragrance, but it was classic at the time, Dolce&Gabbana Pour Homme. So before we carry on, I'm going to give you a closer look at the bottle. Okay, so we're going to have a closer look at the bottle, just a quick one. You've got Dolce&Gabbana Pour Homme right there, over the toilet. The dark blue cap, not bad presentation. It's got some information on the bottom, and you got this sort of, I wouldn't say boring, but it's sort of classy-ish. I mean, it's nothing overly special, is it? Let's be honest, but I think it looks the part. You know, it looks okay on the shelf, but it's nothing overly special. So not much else to say about the bottle. So yeah, that's the presentation for Dolce&Gabbana Pour Homme. Okay, so you've had a closer look at the bottle. You know, nothing fancy, but it's got a nice classy design to it. So going to get into the notes. Got a bit of a note on the notes. Dolce&Gabbana came out in 1994, so I'd have been what, 14, coming 15, somewhere around there. And that was the original. So the original had like a sticker on there. I think it was made in Italy. Then this sort of version, when they got rid of the stickers, was the 2012. So this version came out 2012. I can't remember when my bottle is. My bottle's a couple of years old, at least, but it isn't 2012. I don't know that much. So it was repackaged, and you get some still made. I think made in Germany. You get some made in the UK. This one was made in the UK, and this is classed as a aromatic fougere. So I'd go sort of with that. Top notes: citruses, bergamot, neroli, mandarin orange. The mid, lavender, sage and pepper, and at the base you have tobacco, tonka bean and cedar. So I have had many bottles of this. I've had a big 200ml, I've had I think two, this is my second 125, and I've had at least one smaller one in my lifetime. So I've had a fair bit of this juice, and I've got just over halfway left of this 125ml. So I've got through a fair amount of this over the years. So when you first spray it, which I think we will have a spray, why not? When you first spray it, you get sort of a mix of citruses. So it says citruses, bergamot, neroli and orange. I get definitely an orange, a little bit of the bergamot, a little bit of neroli, but to my nose mostly I would say it's the orange, the mandarin orange. Maybe a lemony kind of thing going on, which isn't listed, but that could be the mix of a few things. It says citruses and then bergamot, neroli and mandarin, which are citruses. So, and this is the point where it's the only bit of the fragrance that sort of lets it down a little. The citruses are okay, but you can tell they're on the cheaper side. They're not super high quality or overly juicy or anything else. They're just a sort of generic designer citruses, if you will, sort of run of the mill. And you get a little bit of a cedary backbone to my nose, and a little bit of like a powdery scent. So and I think, looking at the notes, I think it's a bit of a sage in there, which is coming through. It's the opening that's okay, you know, it's alright, but it's what will put some people off. Not saying it's a bad smell, it smells okay to me, but it's the dry down on this once that sort of opening goes away and everything starts to settle. that's when this one really becomes something really nice and enjoyable. Now, you didn't have to get through this sort of slightly synthetic top with the original, but you do with this one. And again, it's nothing overly horrible. It's just, you smell it and think, okay, it's okay, and it's a bit generic. But when it starts drying down, its true nature, if you will, starts coming through, and that's where it smells really good. So as it starts to dry down, you get a bit of a dry tobacco. It gets a little bit more, slightly more powdery, although it's not overly powdery scent, but it's definitely a powdery vibe to this one. More so than the original, and it's more of a citrusy scent than the original as well. You still get the citruses, but they're not as sort of dominant, that they calm down. They don't become as sort of cloying and in your face sort of synthetic. They sort of start mixing well. It's more, you get a mix of like a powdery scent with a bit of hint of lavender, a bit of a dry tobacco. I wouldn't say any tonka bean, definitely a bit of woody cedar. So slightly powdery lavender, tobacco, cedar, and woody kind of smell. And you still get hints for a good hour or so of citruses here and there, but they die off later and leaving the base. And that's where this one shines. Once it's dried down after about half an hour, it really becomes the scent that everybody knows and enjoys with this, at least this version. And you get this sort of nice, alluring, masculine, slightly powdery lavender, with the slight sort of dryness to it with the tobacco. Never goes dry, but it's like a dry tobacco, and a bit of a woodiness with that cedar starts coming through. But all these notes sort of combine to something actually really, really nice. You just got to get over that sort of slightly more synthetic top. But I think most people have probably smelt this before, and if you know, after about 30 minutes to dry down, it really comes across something nice. And if you're sort of from the era like me, where you're sort of teens in the 90s, and you meet a lady and you're wearing this today, of a similar age, they'll probably recognise it. Maybe not know what it is, but they might say, oh, I smelt that somewhere before, because this was a banging. This was so popular when it come out. It was everywhere in the nightclubs. Everybody was wearing it. Certainly in the nightclubs when I was too young to go in the nightclubs. But even to the point where I was old enough, say 18, people were still wearing this. They were started wearing this. Then things like Harmonic Code came out early 2000s, and then they gravitated to that. And but this was really popular. You smelt this on a lot of men in the time. I believe my late uncle, God bless him, I'm pretty sure smelt this on him. He liked his fragrances. His main one was sort of like Burberry London. Never knew what it was until I was into fragrances, and the first time I picked one up and sprayed it, I thought, that's what that is. Scent memory, you know. So this one was very, very popular in the day, and it still is popular. I mean, it still sells it. They still make it. They still sell a bunch of this. It probably is their biggest seller still to date, and being out from the early 90s, that's a good feat. But it's no reflection of its original. It is a little more cheap and synthetic smelling, but it still smells good once you get past the initial opening and you get into the dry down. And that's how it pretty much stays. Once you get to, after about 30 minutes, you get to that nice part of it, the nice dry down. It's sort of linear from there on. So who and when you could wear this, etc. Well, this is definitely got a masculine smell to it. It's got like a darkness, a freshness, slightly powdery yet clean. It's got a bit of all sorts in it. It's got a little bit of cleanness, a little bit of dirtiness. It's got a bit of everything. It's a bit of a mix of everything. Definitely, as I said, masculine. Ages, well, it doesn't smell old-fashioned. It's one of those that will never sort of smell old-fashioned. It's almost timeless kind of scent. like a mix of citruses with a slightly powdery, darker side to it, but a freshness as well. It's never really one thing. Everything in here is sort of timeless. So yeah, it's got like a 90s fresh sort of vibe to it, but it's definitely not a dated smell. So anybody could really wear this. I would say 25 and up, because it does have that powdery lavender tobacco kind of smell to it. So I would say 25 and up, and it's just got that kind of vibe. I don't think it's got the legs for winter, but I would definitely say spring and autumn. I would wear this in a summer night if it's a cooler night, but like it has been and was, it's a good sort of pub scent. If you're not so much nightclub, because things like 1 million or that would just destroy it in the strength. It's still reasonably strong, but it ain't that sort of strong. It used to be, but not so much anymore. But it's definitely a nice meeting the lads in a pub, yeah, and going to a game of pool, and we're just meeting the ladies there and having a laugh. Not so much a nightclubby side. You could dress this up. This is very versatile. You could wear this casual. You could wear this semi-formal. You could wear this when you're just dressed up a little bit in your casuals. You could wear this in a suit, just a couple of sprays, and you can smell sort of sophisticated with it. It's one of those that you can pretty much wear for anything and everything. You just moderate the sprays. If you want to put a bit more on, go to a pub, great. If you're dressing up, maybe interview or something like that, 1 or 2 sprays, great. Casual, couple of sprays, great. It's one of those that really does a bit of everything. So overall, I think this is a decent scent. You just gotta, again, go over that initial sort of half an hour or so, and it's not as pleasurable. I mean, it's still nice smell. It's okay. I think it's okay. I can live with it. But it is a little bit more synthetic. It's where you sort of half an hour in, at least an hour in. And that's when it becomes, say, it's what it should be. It's one of those that's universally generally liked. Maybe not so much the modern stuff, but generally most people who try this and give it a chance and wear it generally tend to like it, and other people around you would generally tend to like this scent. Now, once I finish this one, will I repurchase? Probably not, because I've had so much of it now, and I've still got a fair bit of it, and there's always new things to try. Spend money on new things to try, different things. My taste is going up a little more. This has got a slightly sophisticated edge to it in the dry down, but my taste is going that way, and probably more towards the higher end of quality. So maybe not, but I still do wear it occasionally, probably about half a dozen times a year. So once every couple of months I'll have a good spray of this and enjoy it while I've got it. So this will probably last me a couple more years, but sometimes when I think, okay, I'm going somewhere a little more formal, don't want nothing too shouty. Performance on this is actually pretty decent on my skin. It lasts and projects pretty well on my skin. Some people find it projects well but doesn't last very long. This, for me, as an eau de toilette, actually isn't pretty bad in the performance, but it obviously depends on you, but on me it lasts and projects pretty well. So that's my quick take on Dolce&Gabbana Pour Homme, sort of today's juice, if you will. Let me know in the comments below if you like it, do you not like it, if you tried it, if you've not tried it, whatever the comment may be. I'll answer as soon as I can. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you again soon on the next video.